Shalom, and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets with your host, Rabbi Beaton. We are reading today from the book of Mark, chapter 8. In those days, the multitude being very great and having nothing to eat, Yeshua called his disciples to him and said to them, 2. I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. 3. And if I send them away fasting to their own Beaton houses, they will faint by the way, for many of them came from a great distance. 4. And his disciples answered him, From where can a man satisfy these men with lechem, bread, here in the deserted place? 5. And he asked them, How many loaves do you have? And they said to him, 7. 6. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves, and gave thanks, and brake, and gave to his disciples to set before them. And they did set them before the people. 7. And they had a few small fishes, and he said the benediction over it, and commanded to set them also before them. 8. So they did eat, and were filled. And they took up of the broken pieces that were left 7 baskets. 9. And they that had eaten were about 4,000, and he sent them away. 10. And straightway he entered into a boat with his disciples, and came into the parts of Dalmanutha. 11. And the Pharisees came forth, and began to question him, seeking of him a sign from the Shamayim, from the heavens, testing him. 12. And he sighed deeply in his ruach, his spirit, and said, Why does this generation seek after a sign? Verily I say to you, there shall no sign be given to this generation. 13. And he left them, and entering into the boat again departed to the other side. 14. Now the disciples had forgotten to take lechem, bread, neither had they in the boat with them more than 1 loaf. 15. And he commanded them, saying, Take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, and of the leaven of Herodes. 16. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, It is because we have no lechem bread. 17. And when Yeshua knew it, he said to them, Why do you reason? Because you have no lechem bread. Do you not yet perceive, neither understand? Is your heart yet hardened? 18. Having eyes you see not, and having ears you hear not, and do you not remember? 19. When I break the 5 loaves among 5,000, how many baskets full of fragments you took up? They say to him, 12. 20. And when the 7 among the 4,000, how many baskets full of fragments you took up? And they said, 7. 21. And he said to them, How is it that you do not understand? 22. And he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. 23. And he took the blind man by the hand, and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes, and put his hand upon him, he asked him if he saw anything. 24. And he looked up and said, I see men as Exim, trees, walking. 25. After that, he put his hands again upon his eyes, and made him look up. And he was restored, and saw every man clearly. 26. And he sent him away to his Beth, his house, saying, Neither go into the town, nor tell it to anyone in the town. 27. And Yeshua went out, and his disciples, into the towns of Caesarea Philippi. And by the way he asked his disciples, saying to them, Who do men say that I am? 28. And they answered, Yehochanan, John, the immerser, But some say Eliyahu, Elijah, and others one of the prophets. 29. And he said to them, But whom do you say that I am? And Kepha answered and said to him, You are the Messiah. 30. And he commanded them that they should tell no man of him. 31. And he began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things, and be rejected of the elders, and of the chief Kohanim, and experts in the Torah, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. 32. And he spoke that saying openly. And Kepha took him and began to rebuke him. 33. But when he had turned about and looked on his disciples, he rebuked Kepha, saying, Get yourself behind me, Satan, for you set your heart not on the things that be of Elohim, but the things that be of men. 34. And when he had called the people to him, with his disciples also, he said to them, Whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his execution stake, and follow me. 35. For whosoever will rescue his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the Besorah, the same shall rescue it. 36. For what shall it profit a man, if he shall gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? 37. Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? 38. Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me, and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed, when he comes in the glory of his Av, his Father, with the set-apart messengers. So that now brings us to the end of Mark chapter 8. So let's go back and have a look at some of the footnotes. So the first footnote is in verse 23. And he took the blind man by the hand and led him out of the town. And when he had spit on his eyes and put his hands upon him, he asked him if he saw anything. Okay, let's have a look at this. Anything. So we have here now that the blind man could see, Yahushua led him out of the city, as he had cursed it earlier in Matthew 11:21. There was no point of the blind man staying with the blind people, so he had to leave and avoid the curse. The trees are a picture of Elohim showing him that he is turning him into a righteous man, the picture of an upright tree in Psalm 1 and 3. So from having no Torah to having Torah, and to become obedient to the Torah of Moses that Ephraim had rejected in the past in Hosea 8 and 12. Okay, so there's 3 footnotes there, or 3 other footnotes to look at. So let's look at Matthew 11:21. Let's see what we get from that. Matthew 11:21, and it reads, Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Sor, Tyre, and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. Okay, so that's a reference back to Sor and Tyre and Sidon. Okay, Tyre and Sidon. Okay, so let's have a look at the next footnote we have here also, which is Psalm 1 and 3. So let's have a look at Psalm 1 and 3 quickly. So it's saying here, a righteous man, the picture of an upright tree. Okay, let's have a look at Psalm 1 and 3. And it reads, and he shall be like an etz, a tree, planted by the rivers of Mayim, water, that brings forth his fruit in its season, and whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. Okay, so that's Psalm 1 and 3. And the next footnote we also have is Hosea 8 and 12, when it's a reference to Ephraim, because Ephraim had rejected the Torah commandments in the past. So let's have a look at Hosea 8 and 12. So Hosea 8 and 12, let's read from 11, okay? Because Ephraim has made many altars to sin, altars that are to him for sin. And 12 reads, I have written to him the great things of my Torah, but they were counted as a strange thing. Okay, so in verse 11 we have also a footnote there where it says altars that are to him for sin. So let's have a look at that quickly because it's relevant. So it says here, two of their altars of sin are Christmas and Easter pagan feasts. Okay? So that gives you more of an understanding of what we're talking about here, why Ephraim rebelled as well. Okay? So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 34. And when he had called the people to him with his disciples also, he said to them, whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his execution stake and follow me. Okay, so we have here now a footnote for follow me. So let's read this. So many have been teaching incorrectly, applying the narrative of the wooden cross. In Israel's history, there was no law to hang a Torah guilty person on a cross, and the wooden cross was used as a symbol for a false deity in Iraq called Tammuz. So how do we address this? Did Yahushua say to carry a cross, which is the symbol of Tammuz? First of all, Yahushua was hung and nailed to a living tree on the Mount of Olives. In addition, Yahushua used very different symbolic signs rather than what is assumed. What then gives? Was Yahushua saying to carry a tree? The answer is yes, and that tree is the Torah. The Torah is written between two trees, i.e., the scroll of the Torah. Therefore, he was stating clearly for those of us who understand this symbol that we must carry our Torah tree in order to be a righteous tree. So we have there also read Psalm 1 and 3, and we'll just continue. The tree is either the symbol of a righteous man or a wicked man. So look at Judges 9 and 15 for that. Yahushua, being a rabbi, is in effect saying that if you are not willing to live out the real Torah, then do not follow me. While many in Israel had sold themselves to Rome and were no longer Torah keepers, even many Sadducees and the high priests were collaborating with Rome for the gain of wealth. Is it not the same today with many televangelists? Their Torah keeping was only in sight, but not by heart. Israel had gone through a history where they were forbidden to even open a Torah in the Hellenic period of Antiochus, and now they were offered inducements to walk away from the Torah and serve the dictates of Rome. So the narrative of pick up your stake is to respect Yahweh with the Torah, which has two sides to it. The one side gives life and the other death. Deuteronomy 30:19. Yahushua did not tell us to pick up the cross of Tammuz, but to pick up the Torah written on a tree and to live the commandments. A far cry from those which have taught to do away with the commandments of the Torah, which give life. Even today, the books are written on paper, which is produced from trees. How ironic that people do not understand. Okay, so let's just go back. So we had a couple more footnotes there. So Psalm 1 and 3 we've already read. So let's have a look at Judges 9 and 15. So Judges 9 and 15, and it reads, "And the bramble said to the etzim," the trees, "If in truth you anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon." Okay, and the other footnote we have after Judges 9:15 was Deuteronomy 30:19. So let's have a look at that quickly. So let's read Deuteronomy 30:19, and it reads, "I call the Shamayim, the heaven, and the earth, to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curse. Therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live." Okay, so we have a footnote for Shamayim, for heaven. So it reads, idiomatic expression for Upper Jerusalem and Lower Jerusalem, and the most holy place in the Hekel, as witness against the people of Yahweh. Okay? So it's a witness against the people of Yahweh. Okay? So let's go to there's another footnote here. Let's have a look at this. "That I have set before you life and death." Well, let's go look at life first. So we have here Torah keeping. So life meaning keeping the commandments. So if you are keeping the commandments, life would be also eternal life. Okay? So we have another one for death. Let's have a look at this footnote for death. "Lawlessness is not keeping Torah and will lead to early physical death for many and lack of increases. However, for a fuller explanation, see the Hidden Truth Hebraic Scrolls Bible edition for Ezekiel 37. Okay, so have a look at Ezekiel 37, which will give you more understanding, okay, on life and death and what the Father is explaining. Okay, so that now brings us to the end of Mark chapter 8. So I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching, and shalom shalom.